G'day, how you doing? Adam Williams here from Easy Way Photography. Here we are in Central Australia, right in this beautiful red sand dune here just outside the Uluru National Park. The same location of the previous video. However, something came up in that previous video that I wanted to expand on and dedicate its own video to, and that is the definition or the boundaries of photography. So in other words, what are we allowed to do and what are we not allowed to do within photography? Or where is the line in the sand that one side is photography and if you step over that, over here is something else. Over there is art or illustration or whatever you like. Where is that line in the sand? Now, the thing that I've come to discover is the line in the sand, the definition of photography or the boundaries of photography are all uniquely personal to the photographer that's capturing or creating those images. Now, we see a lot of heated debate on social media and whatnot, don't we, about the boundaries of what you are and what you aren't allowed to do. Now, just before I move on to that, my philosophy on this, or my definition of photography, is I don't put any constraints, or try not to put any constraints on my work. I allow myself to do anything within photography that will help me in telling the story that I'm trying to tell. So I will replace a sky, I will add things, I will remove things, I will stretch mountains, I will make things bigger, I'll make things smaller. I will do anything that helps me tell the story that I'm trying to tell within my imagery. So essentially I have no boundaries. And look, I'm completely okay with that. And I'm suggesting that in fact, everyone should be completely okay with me having those boundaries for myself. Now, you don't have to be okay with those being your own boundaries because, as I said, everyone's boundaries or definition of photography is completely unique to themselves. Now, as I said, we see a lot of heated debate around this on social media, don't we? All the time. It's every month or two, or in some circles, probably even more regular than that. Now, what this is, as I said, everyone has their own unique definition of photography. And what causes the heated debate is when a photographer tries to apply their boundaries or their definition of photography to the work of another photographer. And it doesn't fit in the same box, does it? You can imagine, and I've got no problem with people that want to represent reality exactly the way it is without removing anything or adding anything or anything like that. That's completely okay. However, if that photographer tries to place those boundaries on my work, it's not going to fit and they potentially might get very frustrated. So what I'm suggesting is the solution to these heated debates is, by all means, have your own creative boundaries that you stick to, but please don't try and place those boundaries on the work of another, because that's where it's going to get very frustrating. Because the other person doesn't have the same definition, doesn't have the same boundaries. It's still photography. To them, it's still photography. For you, it might be something else, and that doesn't matter. You can call my work whatever you like. You can call it illustration or art or photographic art or whatever. I call it photography. It's made up of the foundation of what I do is photography. But for you, as I said, what I do might not be photography, and that's completely okay. But your definition of photography is not necessarily going to fit what I or others do. Now, another quick word of advice, and this comes from experience through my journey of photography. When I first started out, guess what? I wanted to create absolute reality. I wanted to be faithful to the landscape and portray it exactly as I saw it in all its beautiful wonder. However, what I'm trying to suggest is, by all means, have those boundaries, but I think a great thing to do is not to set them in stone or concrete, because from my experience, those boundaries that I set myself in the very early years of my photography, then I got to a point where I wanted my photography to expand beyond that. And if I'd set them in concrete, in hard stone, Imagine how frustrating it would be for me to see all these other photographers that didn't have those boundaries creating these incredible works that I subconsciously desired, but because I set those boundaries so strong in stone and was so rigid and didn't want to move, I'd constrain myself to this tiny, tight little box that I no longer fit in. Imagine how frustrating that can be. So by all means, have those boundaries, have those guidelines for where you want your work to be, but set them a little bit loosely because you might outgrow them at some point. And then the other tiny word of advice is don't frustrate yourself by placing your boundaries on the work of another. Just admire what they do, and you know, we can all kind of go about what we do and respect and admire each other's incredible photographic work from all sorts of creative levels, if you like. Thanks again for watching along. I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye for now.